Radio has you covered for the college football playoff semifinal action. Tune in tonight, Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. And that was CC talking about the potential changes and the situation in Miami. Mike McDaniel is out as head coach. Dan Orlovsky said something yesterday where he said they don't do this without knowing something. They have to know something. And so it does feel like a lot of people are basically saying, maybe January 19th, as the Canes go into their stadium to play a national championship game, then maybe John Harbaugh is there as a Dolphins coach on the sideline, meeting and greeting and smiling everybody and all over the place to kind of introduce himself as a Dolphins coach. I said, well, I thought that was the Dolphins move all year. He was the fix for everything in Miami. I'm just not sure that's the best opportunity for him. And you countered that by saying,
let's go through the exercise. What situation do you think is better for John Harbaugh than Miami?
Okay.
Because the way I look at
I need to pounce on words for this perspective. Okay. There is no situation better than Miami. There's a lot of situations better than the Dolphins.
Okay,
but that isn't. No, I know what you meant. But that is actually my point. If he's choosing way of life and ownership, there is no situation. If he's saying how many football games can I win immediately, how can you sit here and ever make the argument that a team in a tough division with no quarterback, is the way to go?
Because I'm not thinking that if I'm him, I'm not thinking about immediately. I'm thinking of where can I go, have as much free reign as I want to build this in my image and build this football team the way that I think we should win. Obviously, whoever they hire as the GM, that decision is coming down first. And based on all reporting, it feels like that's coming soon. They're going to be very influential in that process as well. But you don't think if the Miami Dolphins think that they can land John Harbaugh, that they're going to want to give him a certain amount of power. They're bringing him in to be the savior of the franchise in a lot of ways. And I know that the Tua situation has not resolved itself yet, and it's going to be very expensive. They have a very tough cap situation. They have a lot of dead money. 2026 is going to be lean for them. But after that, things start to turn. And this is a franchise that should be an incredibly proud franchise. And they have been bad for so long, Evan. And if John Harbaugh gets the opportunity to go to South Florida and turn the Miami Dolphins into a perennial contender, that's a pretty appetizing position. Or proposition.
Yeah, no, I understand that. In terms of just immediate, so upon arrival, better situations? For me, upon arrival, better situations. Atlanta.
Why?
Well, it's a winnable division. They already finished with the same record as the winner of the division. And you could make the argument that they have a potentially good young quarterback. They have a good young defense. Now, they don't have a first-round pick, controlled environment, playing indoors, great ownership. I think that Atlanta's a better situation.
Can I give you a quick counter?
Of course.
Jim Harbaugh.
I don't know what I just said. I think I said of course. Of course.
Like Jador? Of course?
Of course.
Was Jim Harbaugh scared of going to the AFC West, where Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid had reigned supreme for many years?
Understood.
Doesn't seem like a Harbaugh would be afraid of competition.
I agree with you. The Giants are a better situation, believe it or not.
Why?
Well, if you
with a GM on the hot seat,
it doesn't matter if you're Harbaugh, the GM. Like in that case, who cares? He either does what Harbaugh wants or Harbaugh gets somebody else. It's Sean Harbaugh. Like he's not going to worry about that.
What about the ownership situation?
Yeah, I understand that, and obviously health is a huge factor there. But I think if you believe in Jackson Dart, they have a good young defense, they have weapons, and they have a high pick. I also think the Vegas Raiders, who he has not been rumored to at all, is a better situation, even though it has to face his brother twice a year. I think that's a better situation than Miami Dolphins.
Why?
And Tennessee.
Why do you think Vegas is a better situation?
Number 1 overall pick, Bowers, the ability to trade Max Crosby for more picks, Ashton Genty, working with Brady, which I think is a positive. I know everybody else doesn't, but I think I'm sorry. I think there are much better situations in Miami Dolphins. This may be the most comfortable one for him, which thus could make it the most successful, like you're saying, because it gives him runway, it gives him power, it gives him lifestyle. This may be the healthiest long-term one for him. And that may be the move, right? Like as we're sitting here yesterday and we're thinking all we're going to be talking about is obviously the national championship game or the potential of the national championship game, as we have been discussing, obviously with Miami winning last night in a wild game, 4 lead changes in the fourth quarter, Carson Beck game-winning touchdown, the whole deal. That this in many ways equals that story because of its connection to the Harbaugh family and its connection to what's going on. That Mike McDaniel gets fired days after everyone else, and maybe possibly it's all because they know they have John Harbaugh, and maybe it's because they're going to name the GM today, and your guy Chad Alexander, who now all of a sudden you're a huge fan of, the assistant GM with the Chargers, who was in Baltimore for 15 years, that maybe there's alignment and connection, and maybe all of this is lining up to exactly that. Oh, and by the way, maybe they interviewed their defensive coordinator for their head coaching position in Anthony Weaver. What is Anthony Weaver most known for? His time where? In Baltimore, if I'm not mistaken, right? So there's hey, we like this guy. We kind of want him too. Maybe we should potentially keep him with John Harbaugh. Maybe you're right. Maybe all the stars are aligning. And when you put that power ranking up this week of the best potential jobs available, you, in essence, said whoever controls the Dolphins.
Yes.
John Harbaugh would be the one controlling the Dolphins, whether he's the GM or not. And maybe you're right. I just think he has better options. I do. Vegas East, what your reaction to this? Do you believe that the Mike McDaniel move yesterday is because they know they have John Harbaugh?
I don't think they know they have John Harbaugh. I think they have the best shot at John Harbaugh. But we have seen things like this backfire in the past. Different situation. But remember when the Broncos hired Nathaniel Hackett because they thought they had Aaron Rodgers? I think the Dolphins think they have the best chance at Harbaugh, but I don't think they know they have it in the bag for sure.
Good example. I forgot about the Hackett of it all.
Well, you shouldn't because he's on your staff.
No, I mean the Denver Rodgers experiment.
We haven't talked about that enough, nor should we at this point. But anyway, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I would love to know what happened in that lunch or meeting that Mike McDaniel had with Stephen Ross. Because if they did everything like possible to make sure that he would keep his job, and it feels like maybe Stephen Ross heard something that he didn't like or felt like we just have to move on because, like, even if we don't get John Harbaugh, everyone else is making these changes. So am I making the right decision by keeping this guy? Even if I don't get this, if I don't get Harbaugh, as you said earlier, Evan, like there's Stefanski out there. I might have him now. Heck, I might have
No, wait. Stop for 1 second. Play that out for a second, right? Your squad, the Giants, right? Everybody kind of said, the Giants, Stefanski or McCarthy. They're going to hire offensive-minded, veteran coach, been there, done that, where they're going to make the hire, and everybody's going to be like, all right, I get that. There's going to be no drama around. It felt like the Giants were going to make a no-drama hire, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if the Giants think they can get Harbaugh, and they do get Harbaugh, I'm going to tell you something. Breaking news for me. Stefanski won't be the head coach if Harbaugh is.
Wow.
Yes, I know.
Broke my brain with that one.
How about me, right? 20-plus years in this industry. I figured that out.
Nailed it.
So what Nuno and I are saying, well, Stefanski's got to go somewhere. So maybe the Dolphins are like, we think Stefanski's better for us than McDaniel. Or Mike McCarthy.
Or as you're saying this, or maybe, and it was Graz, right, like that said it earlier this week, or maybe if they don't get Harbaugh and they don't want Stefanski, or because of the fact that, let's say, they don't have a quarterback, they might decide, hey, let's take a chance on one of these guys before he's ready, like, the Davis Webb type, and let's just build this, and we know that
I don't think they're going to do, Nuno, because of how much they love Mike McDaniel.
You think it has to be a big fish?
Yes. Pun intended or no? And I also think, and
Dolphins a mammal?
Maybe this is dumb, but if I'm running the PR and sales and marketing for the Dolphins, I want that head coach hired before January 19th. I want him on the field, on the pregame, on college game day. I want him because the championship is in my stadium. I want to show that guy off.
What a PR opportunity.
That's what I'm saying. They're not going to think like that. They shouldn't make a hire based on that. I'm just saying if I'm in the non-football side of it, that I want that buzz and excitement.
Good alignment.
Exactly right. Wild card weekend.